Okay, picture this. You're just walking down the street, minding your own business, and someone right in front of you just collapses. Your heart starts pounding, right? Everyone just stops and stares, nobody knows what to do. What's the first thing that goes through your mind? Do you actually know the first, most critical steps to take? We're going to dive into exactly that, because knowing what to do in those first few minutes, well, it can change absolutely everything.
But first, let's get one thing straight. This is a guide for your general knowledge. It is absolutely not a substitute for getting professional medical advice or, even better, hands-on first aid training. So please, in any real emergency, your #1 priority is always to get immediate medical help on the way.
So let's get back to that scene. You see someone on the ground and they're not responding. What is the very first thing you should do? You know, a lot of people think they should just rush right in, maybe start chest compressions, but is that actually the right move? Let's find out.
In those first few critical moments, your brain is just flooded with adrenaline. It's so easy to freeze up or maybe even do the wrong thing. But having a simple mental checklist, that can cut right through all that chaos. So right now, we're going to build that checklist together and turn that panic into purposeful, effective action.
And here it is, the first and maybe most counterintuitive, but absolutely crucial point. Your first move is not to run over to the person. It's to stop. Take a breath and look at what's going on around you. That simple pause is honestly the most important step you can take.
And that brings us to the golden rule of any emergency situation: safety. You cannot help anyone if you become a casualty yourself. It's as simple as that. Your safety and the safety of any bystanders comes before absolutely everything else.
So what are you even looking for? You're scanning for any potential hazards. Is there oncoming traffic, a down power line, maybe an unstable building? You've got to check for dangers to yourself first, then to the person who's down, and finally to anyone else who's around. Look, if the scene isn't safe, do not approach. Your job is to call for professional help and wait.
Okay, once you're sure the scene is safe to approach, you need a simple, powerful framework to guide your next actions. This is where the DRABC action plan comes in. It's a super easy to remember mnemonic that's going to walk you right through the assessment process.
So, DABC is basically your new best friend in an emergency. Each letter stands for a vital check. We've already covered D for danger, so now we're going to walk through the rest of them: response, airway, breathing, and circulation.
So here's the full framework laid out. We've already nailed down D for danger. Next up, we're going to check for R for response. Then it's A for airway, B for breathing, and we finish with C for circulation. See, it's a really logical flow that helps you tackle the most immediate threats to life first.
Now that the scene is safe, you can finally approach the person. This is R for response. You want to gently tap or shake their shoulders and speak loudly and clearly. Ask something simple like, "Are you okay? Can you hear me?" Now listen, if there is no response at all, nothing, this is the moment you call for emergency services, or you point to someone specific and tell them to do it immediately.
All right, next up is A for airway. This is so important. If someone is unresponsive, their tongue can actually relax and fall back, blocking their airway. So we've got to open it up. You do this with a really simple head tilt, chin lift maneuver. Just place one hand on their forehead and gently tilt their head back. Then, with your other hand, use your fingertips to lift their chin. It's a simple move, but it lifts the tongue from the back of the throat and clears the path for them to breathe.
With that airway open, we move to B for breathing. Now you need to check if they're breathing normally. Get your cheek close to their mouth and look down their body towards their chest. For no more than 10 seconds, you're going to look for the chest rising and falling, listen for any sounds of breathing, and feel for their breath on your cheek. 10 seconds. That's all the time you take.
And this right here, this brings you to a critical fork in the road. What you do next depends completely on what you found in that 10-second check. If they are not breathing normally, or maybe they're just taking these weird occasional gasps, you need to begin CPR immediately, and you start with chest compressions. But if they are breathing normally, you should place them in the recovery position. This keeps their airway open, and then you just keep a close eye on them until help arrives.
So this brings us to C for circulation. Now, while chest compressions are part of circulation for someone who isn't breathing, there's another immediate priority we have to talk about: catastrophic bleeding. A person can bleed to death in just a few minutes, so getting a severe bleed under control is an absolute top priority.
So how do you do it? Well, the #1 most important step is to apply direct and firm pressure right on the wound.
Use a clean cloth, a bandage, your t-shirt, whatever you've got. If you don't have anything, use your hands. If the injury is on an arm or a leg, try to elevate it above the level of the heart. Now, what about a tourniquet? That should only be used as a last resort for really life-threatening bleeding on a limb, and only if you've actually been trained on how to use one correctly.
Okay, so once you've gone through DRABC and you've dealt with any immediate, life-threatening stuff like catastrophic bleeding, you can move on to what's called a secondary assessment. This is basically just a quick but thorough head-to-toe check to find any other injuries you might have missed in the initial rush.
You'll want to be pretty systematic about it. You're going to look and gently feel the head and neck for any cuts or bruises. You'll watch the chest to make sure it's rising and falling equally on both sides. Then you gently feel the abdomen for any tenderness or swelling. And finally, you check the arms and legs for any signs of fractures, dislocations, or any other bleeding.
Believe it or not, your job isn't quite done even when the ambulance shows up. One of the most helpful things you can do for the emergency responders is to give them a clear, quick report. This information is absolutely vital for them to continue care effectively.
So what do you tell them? Just the key facts. Let them know the condition you found the person in. Were they awake? Were they unresponsive? Tell them exactly what you did. Just walk them through the DRABC steps you took. Mention any changes you saw. Did they get better or worse while you were helping? And finally, just point out any other injuries you found during your head-to-toe check.
And there you have it. From that first moment of shock to a structured, life-saving response, that DRABC framework gives you real power. It gives you a plan. So the question isn't just, what would you do anymore? It's, now that you have the framework, are you ready to be the help until help arrives?